Oh my god guys, this is the update that we have been waiting for since the creation of Dead by Daylight. Here we have the developer update for June 2022, in which Behaviour go over every single change coming up, including all of the meta perk changes, including progression changes, and I have to say, this might make DBD the game that it should have been after all these years. I cannot express how happy I am, guys. Let's get into it. So they're changing teachable perks to not be based on levels, but based on prestige. So tier 1, you get all 3 of their teachable perks at a maximum of level 1. And then of course at prestige 3, all of their teachables are available at level 3. But the difference here is that once you unlock the teachable by prestiging that character, every character gets that perk instantly without having to level up for it, which is absolutely huge. Additionally, you no longer lose anything when you prestige a character. You keep all of your perks, all of your add-ons, all of your offerings, and it happens automatically. Next up, they're making it so that there is no cap to the amount you can prestige a character. And on top of that, bloody cosmetics are being moved to prestiges 4, 5 and 6 instead of 1, 2 and 3, since the 1, 2 and 3 slots are now taken up by their teachables. Overall, this is reducing the grind of DBD significantly, and along with the prestige changes, Shrine of Secrets is being changed to automatically grant that perk to everyone, just like the prestige does. And to fix queue times, there are now matchmaking incentives which rewards players for queuing whichever role has not enough players on it. So for instance, let's say there's a ratio of 200 survivors to every 1 killer like we've previously seen, the game will now grant you incentives to play killer, which will in turn make queues faster for everyone, assuming people take the incentives of course. Next up is the gameplay changes, and the first thing we're going to see here is generator speeds being increased by 10 seconds. Now obviously 10 seconds isn't huge, but still, I never thought we would see the day. I've been going on about this for like 5 fucking years now. I can't believe it, man. So gens are going to be 10 seconds slower now, but generator slowdown perks are going to be tweaked in return, so hopefully we're not going to be forced to use 3 to 4 slowdown perks to stand a chance on weaker killers. Next up is that kicking a gen will instantly regress it by 2.5% on top of the overtime regression, which basically means every kick has a mini pop goes the weasel effect, which I have also been going on about for fucking years, man. This is so good. In this paragraph, we see them talking about how killers in general are not performing very well, so they're making it so you break walls and pallets 10% faster and kick gens 10% faster. Here's another huge one. When you successfully hit a survivor, you have a slight save the best for last effect, you recover from your hit 10% faster, and survivors get a shorter on-hit boost, which means that hitting a survivor one time doesn't automatically mean that you have to waste another minute just getting to the opposite side of the map to catch up to them. Next up, they're making it so Bloodlust comes in earlier in Chase. Do keep in mind that Bloodlust tier 1 will start at the same time, it's just it will tier up to 2 and 3 slightly faster. This isn't something that I really think we need, but we'll see what happens with this. Next up, they are addressing camping and tunneling. So now, whenever you are unhooked as a survivor, you will get a borrowed time effect for 5 seconds, whether or not your teammate has borrowed time, and you will get a 7% haste for 5 seconds alongside that. This is absolutely crazy. Everyone now has borrowed time built in, and everyone now gets a speed boost to run away from the hook. Of course, only the person who was unhooked gets these, so you still shouldn't be bum rushing, but that is huge to deal with camping and tunneling. That is absolutely huge. And to tie this in with the semi-recent decisive strike change from like the last year, they are now introducing a mechanic called a conspicuous action. So anything that disables decisive strike also disables these effects. So healing yourself, repairing a gen, healing someone else, cleansing, sabotaging, unhooking, or doing a gate. All of those will get rid of these borrow time and haste effects. Next up is meta perk changes, where they're changing the most used perks on both teams. First up is barbecue and chili. They are removing the blood points from it. However, this is okay because, as we saw previously, they are reducing the grind of the entire game by 75%. So we really don't need those points. Next up, Ruin is getting a nerf. Its effects are being halved. Additionally, when someone is killed, so that means they're out of the game completely, Ruin automatically cleanses itself. That's a pretty big hit there, I have to admit, but hopefully these other changes are justifying it. Next up, Pop Goes the Weasel gets some somewhat hefty changes too. So it is nerfed by 5%, it now regresses 20% of the gen instead of 25%, however it now regresses 20% of the current progress instead of the maximum progress, which means that in some cases this is a huge nerf and in other cases this isn't much of a nerf at all. Because once again we already have a built-in pop goes the weasel effect now from the previous change. Next up, Corrupt Intervention getting gutted. When you down a survivor, the perk goes, whether or not the time limit is up. You better not be using that anymore, boys. Next up, Tinkerer's being changed. It can only activate one time per generator, just so you don't constantly, go to a gen, kick it, regress it, they activate it again, you go back. Tinkerer is annoying as fuck, so this is probably not too bad of a change. Noed is being changed so that it can be cleansed more easily. When Noed activates, and that means when you hit your first survivor with Noed, its aura is visible within 4 meters of the totem, and this range from 4 meters gradually increases to 24 meters over 30 seconds. So you still get your surprise free kill from Noed, but you're not going to be able to control the remainder of the match based on your totem RNG anymore. Next up, Pain Resonance is getting quite a decent nerf. It no longer puts an explosion bubble on the gen and no longer kicks survivors off of the gen. So that means that you no longer see which gen explodes and you no longer see if anyone is on the gen or not. That's a pretty big change, but it still has its regression, so it's okay. Next up is Deadard. Instead of being boosted forward and being immune to hits, Deadard now grants you endurance for 1 second. So basically, you can only use it to tank hits now and not bridge gaps. This is a high skill buff as well, because if you do successfully bait a hit with it, you will be granted an on-hit burst, which means it's effectively sprint burst on command, which is huge. Next up, Decisive Strike is getting a slight nerf, which is that when the exit gates are powered, Decisive Strike is out of the game for everyone no matter what. Additionally, its stun duration has been reduced from 5 seconds to 3 seconds, which is more than fair because 5 seconds is a fucking crazy amount of time in DBD. Next up is Borrowed Time. Since Borrowed Time has been made base kit, this extends the duration by 10 seconds of both the movement speed and the endurance. Iron Will is being nerfed so that it doesn't completely disable Grunts of Pain, but reduces it by 75%. Self-Care is being nerfed so that you go from healing at 50% speed to 35%, and it no longer boosts your medkit efficiency. Spine Chill is being adjusted so that it no longer grants you vault speed, but its effect will linger for half a second after a killer looks at you, so you get that repair speed bonus for a bit longer if the killer only looks at you for a fraction of a second. Next up are non-meta perk changes. First up is Overcharge. Overcharge is becoming the new Ruin. When you kick a gen, its regression speed will go from 100% to 400% over the course of 30 seconds, so it will gradually ramp up. So that means survivors have to learn to hit that overcharge skill check, otherwise their gen is gone. Eruption is just getting a buff, its regression penalty is being increased to 10%, and the incapacitated effect, which is how long they cannot repair a gen anymore, that is being buffed for 25 seconds. Knockout is surprisingly getting a buff where it makes survivors crawl 50% slower and they recover 25% slower. I'm surprised they're buffing Knockout because it's really good if you like slugging, and as we know, slugging is really good as well. Chorophobia is getting a buff so that on top of the 50% healing reduction, it also makes skill checks appear 50% more often. This is not going to change the perk in any way, no one's going to use it still. Dark Devotion no longer has the restriction of being a basic attack. Jolt or Surge no longer has a cooldown. That is quite nice since you are now going to be rewarded appropriately if you continuously down people in rapid succession. Lethal Pursuer has its existing effects and makes all aura perks last 2 seconds longer. So for instance, Barbecue and Chili gets an extra 2 seconds if you have Lethal Pursuer. Scourgehook Gift of Pain is getting buffed to 16%, and Thanatophobia is being buffed by a little bit. Still not a great perk, but it's nice to see that change. Monstrous Shrine now makes all basement hooks Scourge hooks, and every Scourge hook on the map gets 20% faster entity progression. So it's a combination of old Monstrous Shrine plus Scourge hooks. Calm Spirit now lets you open chests, cleanse and bless totems silently at 30% slower speed. Saboteur now reveals to you which hooks are Scourge hooks, which now means that you can specifically target Scourge hooks if you know that your killer is using them. Botany Knowledge is being buffed from 30% to 50%, Off the record now becomes a self-borrowed time for 80 seconds. Performing any conspicuous action disables it just like the other one. Lucky Break now allows you to get some of that back by healing your teammates. Every 1 second you spend healing someone is another 1 second refunded on your perk. Pharmacy now only activates when you're injured. Sole Survivor now means that you can repair gens 75% faster and interact with the gate and hatch 50% faster. Distortion now lets you get tokens back as well. You get 1 token back for every 30 seconds you spend in the terror radius. Lightweight is having its effect intensified, plus your scratch marks will be a bit less linear to make it harder to track. Deja Vu now grants a 5% repair speed bonus to any gens that are highlighted with it. No One Left Behind will now activate when the gates are powered instead of being opened, and it grants anyone you unhook a 7% increase in their haste. Of course, they already get 7% upon unhook, so now anyone you unhook is 14% faster. Dark Sense is completely reworked. When a gen is powered, this perk activates. Next time the killer comes within 24 meters of you, you see their aura for 10 seconds, and then the perk deactivates. I assume it can get reactivated every time a gen is popped. Tenacity now gets Iron Will built in while slugged. Hope no longer has a timer on it. Overzealous is getting doubled in its effectiveness. We're Gonna Live Forever no longer gives you blood points, so now it is only the faster pickup speed. And there you have it, guys. This is literally the best update in Dead by Daylight history. This is probably going to make DBD the game it should have been all along. I am so excited. I've been avoiding DBD for the last year and a half, maybe even 2. This is making me want to play DBD like crazy. I can't wait for this, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments.